Yeah, which is exactly how the idea of a portal into a memory would look in like most sci-fi stuff.
Water into like sorry.
That's just trying something new. My baby son here. These
It was fun.
cheap.
It was
Clippers I got off Amazon. I think it was like $40.
Is that
Battery power. Just trying to see how they actually work.
Does not inherently make it better.
How good they work.
This with 3D TVs,
Charge them on my
movies.
Blue Eddy.
In some cases, it's
Or solar. The TV is running off Blue Eddy. I know some people wanted an update on how everything going.
really terrible. Is that if you're the dad?
Right. You see, I got these Clippers charging. And I got my 400 going. I got this TV on. Watch my favorite.
Right into the bird right there.
And that's using the solar array right there.
As good as this memory could be, and now like you as a parent get to look back at this later, imagine that child's memory of now like wanting to blow out their candles with their bats, like hovering over them.
Excuse me, miss.
Bulgy eyes.
Come on, do it. Hold on, I'm not recording. I just feel like with photos and video, there is a point of diminishing returns where like adding extra like immersion features to the photos and video really just makes it worse.
I can see 3D like photos or like memories like that being something kind of cool in the future, but you have to not diminish the experience in the process of capturing it.
Correct.
This is another look 10 years into the future type thing, where theoretically the tech gets nice and small and it looks like a pair of glasses and it's not too bad, and you can record this ultra high resolution memory and relive the memory without looking like an insane person. Maybe that's fine.
Take away from being 90 and being able to like, oh, this was my kid when they were 10, 12, over. that in general sounds cool, but you're messing up that entire experience.
You're messing up your child.
Sometime in the future they'll figure that out. I don't think this is it.
I just want to say how Black Mirror this is, by the way. It's like, you know, your wife dies way too early, and then you're just like, you're sitting in your headset, just like watching her on the couch doing her. Like, you know, in every like sad movie,
and,
like they're running on
like you replay the memory like 6 times in a row. Like, I wish I was here again.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. Yeah, it got dark.
Yeah.
because I think a lot of the discourse around this was like, this feels really dystopian because, and I
Looking
think
pretty
the core
good.
problem.
By the way,
with this headset,
I'm a teacher, not a barber.
XR headset, is that this is such a
Play one on TV.
human-only device.
That was dead, Joe.
Every video that they showed, they didn't have multiple people in the room except for that
So
like,
they let-
playing
maybe
that
just
video of
kept
the child's birthday party. It was always one person sitting alone in their $5 million apartment.
Oh, you're very
And
good
that was
stuff.
it.
They have a bunch of examples of like the workplace and having people handing you things, but
You
I
about to
do
get
agree.
twisted?
There's never two people using that.
It's not
headset.
social.
It's always like
Yeah.
one person in the headset,
And they're the
person
only one
not
with
in
the
the headset.
Yeah. I think while we're on the topic, let's go over the couple of the negatives, the downsides that I was immediately able to pinpoint, just to get them out the way, right? So one of them is it's $3,500, and it's obviously going to limit how many people are going to try it.
I think that's intentional though.
Yes, that is definitely intentional, and it's got Pro in the name, and obviously you can see a version in the future with not Pro in the name. Number two, so this is interesting. There's no haptics because there's no controllers, and I think that's fine, but it was interesting that it could sort of take me out of the full immersion.
You know,
maybe
I-
without gloves in the future. I don't know.
You say there's no haptic, but this is something I talked to with Shen before, asking him why all hand gestures in VR seem to be tapping, and he said because that is a
Feel
haptic.
yourself.
Like
That part is
people
haptic.
like, I guess
Yeah.
there's still the flicking thing, which if you flick, I guess there is still some sort of. But he said the reason they do hand gestures like that, and that's
Gotta get rid of that weight line.
You're making some sort of contact, and that
For sure.
represents that.
Yeah, but all the rest of the stuff, like scrolling as far and hitting the bottom of the page, everything is virtual.
Yeah.
Like when I wanted to like cut the dinosaur or the butterfly landed on my hand, you feel nothing. You feel nothing. Like we did the haptic gloves demo, and that's like so far from like solving the problem. But that's just something I noticed. It's intentional, obviously. I want you to have to have control. Number 3 is it's heavy. It's glass and aluminum, and it's got a separate battery pack to save weight. But even that, it's heavy even without that battery.
Yeah.
How big is the battery pack?
Just good document, because in the background they talking about the iVision,
It's small.
Apple iVision Pro. I think it's gonna be a game
It's
changer.
got a USB-C.
I don't know if it's gonna be iPhone level, but it's gonna definitely be at least like the Apple Watch level, man. It's gonna make the average person probably get one.
I did not.
Eventually. Maybe not this first one, but I can
just
definitely
like
see.
have that. I understand that it needs to
Eventually.
have the locking mechanism and a nice wire. Just put USB-C port up in it.
Think of it as a power brick.
Think of it
Like a
as
laptop and a power brick. Well, it's a laptop with no battery inside and a power brick where the battery is in the brick.
Like a desktop.
So like if you ever want to unplug from the wall, nothing, just the battery. But if I ever want to unplug from the wall, I have 2 hours to find a plug. Basically, that's how it goes.
I
2
think,
hour battery.
I think their reasoning, Andrew, for the reason that
because it looks nice and it's accurate.
No, you can't put that much weight also on it. That's
well,
That's why you keep looking your head.
the reason I think it's not removable is because they don't want the USB-C cable to like just come off and then all of a sudden it just goes to black and dies in the middle of it. Like Apple is so intentional about we don't want this to feel, we want it to feel like such an extension of your reality. We don't want you to suddenly be like, oh, what happened? And then you have this like weird shock value. To your point, they do have this pin hole in the battery that I assume is a way to remove the cable if the cable breaks. So you can replace the cable and not replace the battery itself.
The cynic in me says that they'll sell this for $200 in
The battery.
Well, it should sound like one battery. I think they should sell a bigger battery or additional batteries.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I just think it's weird having
Trying to say some this land up here because as his hair go down,
but
give a little more depth to his
yeah.
to his brain. Let's see how that look.
If you don't want to plug it to the wall, but like, come on, there's no thing not to be connected to the wall. Like, it should not really.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. I don't know yet, but I wonder how much of this will be used plugged in versus not. I kind of suspect it'll be plugged in a lot.
I feel like that takes away from a lot of the things you guys are describing that are
If you're seeing a movie on the couch,
watching a movie, sure.
using it as a computer at your desk, it can be plugged in a lot of these
Yeah, but
situations.
you know your desk and the wires getting tangled up in there. Is your like, I don't think that. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be double battery happy. Just make a backpack.
Well, you shouldn't double.
You go
That's what
float
I'm saying.
your back. Just plug it in.
Yeah, so you can disconnect it from the headset. It's like a quarter turn locking thing, so I assume you can just unplug that and theoretically buy a bigger battery pack or whatever. So you should never have to have two battery packs. No, some third parties can
Do the
With that connector, I don't know.
I hope so.
I'm assuming that's a weird connector. They'll have to
MFI?
license it.
NFV, made for
but
vision.
the locking mechanism, I would bet you that they patented that and made it proprietary.
It's just like no one makes MagSafe stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would bet you that because they probably don't trust like third parties to have a battery that actually doesn't kick you out of the immersion randomly.
I think
That's out.
it's a weird spot. I'm sure I understand that. But also, something I didn't hear either of you guys talk about, or just really anyone, is there's also another strap that you can have that goes over the top of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really mention that in the keynote or anywhere.
I think that's also intentional. It is an optional accessory
All
that's
right.
probably in the box that I think everyone should use because it's so
Go
heavy
ahead. I need you to turn around.
I heard it's so heavy that it sounds like almost everyone would be
Get up,
using it,
chair.
but I guess it doesn't look as
Chair.
it doesn't look as tempting.
Yeah, sure.
I will say the materials are insanely nice. The strap is really crazy nice. One thing that really like kind of blew me away is like when you put it on, when you're tightening it, a lot of other headsets you have to just kind of like pull it and like tighten it around your head. This one, it's got like this kind of crown that you twist, and it's got clicking and ratchets. It's got ratchets, and you hear it and feel like, and it just feels so smooth and seamless that you feel it slowly tightening around your head.
Yeah, I think
It's really
those
good.
are for like my I think they said there was some sort of
That's for the
strap
main way to-
model to your.
No, the strap is not mounted to that. The light seals are mounted.
They mentioned something in the keynote that was like it was adjustable, and then that was just for like minuscule adjustments when like and like on the fly for like, oh, this is not feeling too tight, I'm gonna loosen it up.
That's true, but you also have to use it to on. Like you have to like loosen it to be able to take it off.
And there are other products.
But the quality and the mechanism is so good.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it is really heavy.
And also the head strapping you're talking about, the way that you tighten that is also very seamless.
Yeah.
And everything about it is it's like modular, so every single part you can take off, and almost every single part of it is also machine lockable, which I think is awesome. so you can like clean it and wash it really easily. And the main actual headset is not
Alright.
huge. It's just the mechanisms to keep it on your head are I don't know volume. Yeah. Did you have any other questions about the demo?
So yeah, I think the main two things, like from not just you guys, but everyone that I talked to that tried it, the main things they said was that worked way better than I expected because everyone saw no controllers and thought I've tried every other VR headset and that's not going to work, and they were very surprised by it worked. And then it immediately went to and that was heavy and the battery pack's kind of weird, but then like I don't care, I loved using it, and that was my and then it's really expensive.
Think about it like a first generation of a new iPhone.
It almost feels hard to think about it as first generation because it sounds like it's working so well. It's just priced like first generation, and maybe there's not as many things available.
It just has so many parallels to me to the first iPhone, where number one, right now, it just has Apple apps. And of course, it's going to launch next year, and we should have a bunch more apps, but it has Apple apps right now. And those are the ones that sort of demonstrate how you're going to use it and what it does best. And then the UI and the way you interact with it is the revolutionary part of it. Just like how pinch to zoom was incredibly responsive and worked so well on the first iPhone compared to any other phone, this one, the eye tracking and the hand tracking and the way you move those windows around and interact with things and scroll has the same vibe. It's like I've never seen a headset do it this well, and if it gets better at all, I'll be very happy.
I do think that's something that I asked you guys after, which was like, this works so flawlessly and it was so amazing, is part of the reason we're so impressed by this because of all the ones we've tried before it that have tried to do
It's a
similar
huge
things, and they
aspect.
just are not good.
Yeah, it's the iPhone of
I think that's like kind of the crazy part. That when you look at $3,500, I still don't know if I was like, this stuff works, is that worth that? But it's just like, that stuff didn't work, this does. I still don't know if it's worth it, but it's really
other
cool to see
versions
how
of it,
it's
other versions of it worked pretty well, but wouldn't have all of those things at once. Like, Sony has good eye tracking, but not the most incredible hand tracking.
Yeah.
Like, the Quest Pro, the Meta Quest Pro had decent pass-through and, like, is lighter and could do some of these things, but you needed controllers
It
with
wasn't
precise stuff.
good
It just,
enough though.
it wasn't good across the board.
There's a point of no return where like I could not, if I used anything worse than this now, I would just be like, this sucks.
If this is 60% as good as you guys are saying it is, it blows the MetaQuest out.
It does.
And I think it's way more than that. Like, I
It
believe
does.
everything you guys are saying, that this feels like the MetaQuest Pro is horrible.
And that's exactly why I don't think this you can't really compare the price to anything else, because it's like everything else is garbage and then this is
The reason you can compare the price is like, am I spending $3,500 to do these things in here?
For sure.
Like the usability.
the usability,
For sure.
absolutely.
If we're just comparing, like, if you 100% want these AR VR goggles,
Yeah.
then the price is
I'm not
fair.
saying people should buy this
Exactly. No,
necessarily.
yeah.
If you want to reduce it to just a checklist, it looks insane. It's like, can you watch a movie in a regular Quest? Yes. Can you watch a movie in this? Yes. Okay. Can you do hand controls in one? Yes. Can you do it in hand controls in this one? Yes. So they both like check most of the boxes. Pass through? Yeah, pass through. Tracking? Yeah, tracking. Apps? Yeah, apps. Games? Of course, games. But the difference is so much more than
No,
a checkbox.
I think if you want a headset, I would spend the extra money on this. I just don't know if you're not sure if you want a headset. If
No,
you
I
want
said
a
tick.
headset,
Don't buy any of the existing headsets.
Tickle better than hurt.
Also,
Yeah.
something that's interesting to me is that when Oculus announced Meta announced the Meta Quest 3 like last week, right? I watched that intro for that video, and they were like, "We have 500 apps," and I was like, "That is not very many." Considering how long the Meta Quest ecosystem has been around, 500 apps is not very much, and also I would bet you that 75% of those are garbage. They're probably
People buy it, right, flexing how many apps there are on the App Store. It's like, well, how many good apps are there?
right. Where the interesting thing with like the iPhone, for example, and the Android App Store, is that it's a multi-tool that does literally everything. If I never use this one thing, but then at this one moment, I'm like, oh, I really need a light meter. I can look up light meter, and there's just a bunch of light meter apps on the App Store, right?
Are you flexible
And
for first?
I think the interesting thing that
Yeah,
the
I don't want the
Apple
eye to
ecosystem
get
has
the hair
is Apple's
to get
actually able to get so many developers to port their apps to this, to make new apps for it, is that they're just gonna blow every other headset out of the water in terms of what can you do with
That's
this?
the Apple superpower.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end it, which is like, It is early. It doesn't come out till next year. We've only got to try it for 30 minutes. There's not a lot we know.
Yeah.
But what we do know is this is going to slot into the world of VR headsets, where the advantage to any one headset typically has been quality or features. And the advantage to this Apple one is going to be now there's an entire giant developer community that's like feasting over like, oh, this is it. I'm going to make the best app I can and blow up in VR. And this is their chance to make the best apps possible. And those are all going to really showcase what this thing is capable of, and the technology will back it up, and there'll be quality experiences.
It will ride or die on if there are good apps for it. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a chicken or the egg thing.
Yeah, and I think they had to make the good hardware to entice those developers, and they did that. And because they've nailed that, I can't wait to see what apps show up. And
Yeah.
we just have to wait and
And
see.
we don't even know what they're going to make yet.
We'll just wait and see. There could be an incredible calculator app for all we know. So
Never
sick.
I'd like one more point that I want to make.
Yeah.
And it's that this is like the only product that Apple makes that isn't an accessory for the iPhone, right? Like the AirPods are its own entire industry, and they're an accessory for the iPhone. The Apple Watch, accessory for the iPhone.
MacBook.
The MacBook came out before the iPhone, but you could argue that so many of the things that make the MacBook useful is that it works with your iPhone.
I think that's true about that headset too.
But what do you do besides having an Apple ID and like doing FaceTime and stuff? What necessarily makes this an iPhone accessory?
Well, not an iPhone accessory, but it's an ecosystem plug. Where like if I look at a MacBook, my MacBook screen levitates out the top, and suddenly I'm doing like Final Cut editing with the trackpad and all this stuff.
Yeah.
If I have messages on it, FaceTime, it's like the ecosystem plug part is real, even though it's not an iPhone accessory.
But you could just have a MacBook and an Android phone like Alex does, and use this headset, and you don't really need an iPhone.
Apple ecosystem in general is that everything works better.
Yeah.
when better.
But some things kind of only work with the other iPhone, like the Apple Watch. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is its own. I think this is kind of like a Mac in that it's a standalone computer, but it will definitely plug into the ecosystem really well by design.
And that's why I think the $3,500 price tag, yes, it's stupidly expensive for sure. But you're also buying basically a whole computer. It has an M2 in it, whereas like an Oculus Quest, it can play some games, but you can't
It's
do
like
what
a
you would do
Snapdragon something.
XR1 or something.
Yeah.
But you can't do on an Oculus Quest what
I-
you can do on a MacBook.
Before, I don't think we should. Well, Quest Pro is the only thing we should compare to this. An Oculus Quest is just.
Sure.
It's not the same thing.
But a Quest Pro doesn't really have like a desktop kind of like format, right?
You could pair it to a Mac.
Yeah,
You can pair it.
Mm-hmm.
to computers.
But you don't have to pair this guy.
No.
Yeah, it's its own standalone.
This
It's
is-
its own. It has an M2 chip.
If you think about it as a computer, $3,500 isn't that expensive.
Exactly.
But chances are you're not replacing a computer.
Totally. For sure.
Somebody's got to do a. I can't wait for a benchmark of like. Can we just run Geekbench on all these headsets of like the M2 gets a trillion points and then the Snapdragon XR gets like whatever it gets? It's just
Yeah.
absurd. It doesn't
So
matter.
before we go, I know we said no trivia, but I do have a fun trivia thing for you guys. if you
Okay.
like.
Okay, yeah.
When was the last time Apple did the whole one more thing on stage? Before this
A long
headset?
time ago.
Was it the Mac Pro at Dub
I was gonna think. I was
That's
gonna say
okay.
Mac Pro.
Mac Pro, David.
There's something the.
No, it was the iPhone 10.
iPhone 10.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
because they released
Because they
the
did the 8 and 8
and
Plus.
8 Plus.
And they're like, wait, okay, one more thing. Yeah, that's not
2017.
Man, you got that super.
Well,
You
that's
guys,
good to
that
know.
is
We
super
got
good.
a lot more upcoming, a lot more coverage. Guys, stay tuned. The studio channel has
Oh,
a video episode, a bonus episode on the podcast channel. We've
Let me
got
see.
the main
Look at me.
ones on the NPDHD
Look at
channel.
Look at that, like,
the Prius review. We're
push
putting
out.
out all kinds of great videos. So watch those and no trivia. Of course, we'll be right back next week with a bunch of cool stuff. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Almost.
We're produced by Adam Marina and Alex Roper. We're part of the Black Media Podcast Network. And interaction music was created by Vince. So.
Look at me. Look over there. Look that way.
Kind of, we're saying the word packs what we're going to use because we did get a bunch of stuff. There were 2 phones, 2 watches, and a pair of headphones. Where should we start? I guess we start on the phones. And people want to wait till take the best for last. I think the phones. I mean, the phones are actually pretty simple.
Yeah.
So let's just do the phones. 2 phones. Flip 4 and Fold 4. My summary is Flip 4 and Fold 4, which both start at the same price as last year's model, are incremental refinement type upgrades from the Flip 3 and Fold 3. I think the biggest improvement to the Flip is going to be battery life. We have yet to test these, so this is just my prediction, but it's getting a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, and it's going from a 3400 to a 3700 milliamp hour battery. So for a small phone, either way, it's getting a bump to 3700, so it should be a nice usability improvement. I've used other phones with Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1s, and they've had pretty great efficiency, so I'm looking forward to testing that. And then the biggest improvement, or at least change with the Fold 4, to me seems to be, it's a lot of minor things. It's 3 millimeters wider on the front cover screen. It's got some slightly thinner bezels on the inside.
You like that?
It also has a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, the same size battery as last year, but it also has a second generation under display selfie camera. And that camera, to me, we actually have another phone in the studio
like that
that
other
has
one, you know
the
that
second
makes-
generation under display selfie
Like
camera.
that
I haven't made a
other
video
like
about it
this.
yet, but we've tested it. And the amount of times you actually notice the camera under the screen is way less. It looks much better. There isn't any pixelation when you drag things over the display. It looks really good. But the pictures that come out of it look the same at best, sometimes worse.
Do you remember when we put the I think it was the OnePlus 7 Pro underwater with the pop-up selfie camera and it came out?
I do.
I feel like it's hazed over like that before the phone totally broke.
It kind of is what it looks like. Yeah.
It sort of has like a dehaze effect that applies afterwards, and you can see it go from being very hazy to processing and then applying.
Yeah, it's funny how dramatic it is. You can see it happen in the impression video, the clip of it, and it like snaps into being processed. Yeah, I don't know.
Video calls are going to be kind of hazy.
I'm very concerned about how video calls work on that phone. Yeah,
Thank you. Why is this one? Phil, why this one off?
Laptop and all that stuff.
Oh, no,
So, yeah, that's the phones. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on them being incremental upgrades?
It seems
Hey,
like
look.
they did like one kind of cool
Oh,
feature
no.
for both of them, which
Like,
was
look.
they made the Flip
Yes.
4, the front screen, more customizable, right? And I think like the biggest increment from Flip 1 to Flip 2 was like actually making that front screen usable and having some things in it, so that feels kind of cool. And then in terms of the Fold 4, like you said, it's very incremental. It seems much more polished and the form factor feels better than outside like screen. But then also this is the first one shipping with 12L Android
No
12L,
camera
which is like
or a camera.
the,
It hurts.
Android
It's a
4
camera now.
March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have a dot on the bottom, which there's a lot of there should be a lot of new features to make that inside screen feel hopefully much smoother.
I think the dock's pretty sweet.
The dock looks really cool. Like it makes 20.
I'll show y'all the picture after I'm
On the
done.
bottom, and it just has whatever
Faking it.
recent apps you've used and whatever
Alright.
favorite apps you want to keep
Once
down there,
again.
and you just like swap back and forth between apps. Super
Yeah.
fast. I wonder if I
Keep that out.
switch to navigation gestures, how that will work. Because when I used it in the impressions event, it was with the button.
Good times.
navigation. So the button
Alright, God bless.
was in there. But I typically immediately switch Samsung phones and every phone to gesture navigation.